Shabbat Shalom, my friends. This week it's in a Georgia Tech sweatshirt because a grandson was just accepted to Tech and we're celebrating that. Shabbat Shalom. Hello, everybody. I attended this week the annual convention of the Central Conference of American Rabbis, and I was touched and honored by learning that a number of my colleagues regularly share in this weekly Torah conversation, katonti. I really mean it. It's humbling. Thank you, may omekli be. Also during the convention, we had what was close to an overwhelming experience listening to Sister Simone Campbell, a deeply compassionate, profoundly spiritual, amazingly funny, articulate, widely known Catholic religious advocate for social justice. Sister Simone is part of an organization known as Nuns on the Bus, really, Nuns on the Bus, a group of nuns who are totally committed not merely to praying about social justice, they pray, not merely to preaching about social justice, they preach, but in actually transforming communities. In her honor, I share with you now her exhortation to what was a group of, 300 plus Reform rabbis. Keep the flames of the burning bush burning. This comment doesn't require of us any Rashi, and these words will resonate with me for a long, long time. Keep the flames of the burning bush burning. Indeed, Sister Simone, remember the name. We will try in sacred partnership with you. Okay. Our Sedra this week is Tzav, Leviticus 6, 1 and following. From the very dawn of human consciousness, we humans have been struggling, trying to cope effectively with an endless array of powerful challenges in our world, challenges that still trouble us to this very day. Everywhere we looked, there were objects that were animate and others that were inanimate. What separates one state of being from another state of being? Or are there mysteries that we will simply never be able to penetrate? And there were more. Birth and death, both are frightening, and multiple impenetrable veils cover them both. How does life happen? Why does life happen? Why does life end? And how does life end? And does it really end? In the ebb and flow of time, we encounter the terror of destruction striding forth arm in arm with the beauty of creation. Storms and flash floods, fields of glorious flowers, and budding trees with their promise of both food and shade, victories and defeats, suffering and joy, disease and healing, loss and gain. We struggle to understand. We've always struggled to understand. What does it mean to live in such a world? Are we alone? Are there forces that control us, inspire us, depend upon us, or even just exist but totally ignore us? Does it matter what we do? Or are we merely delusional in asserting that some force somewhere cares about the choices we make? Is there purpose built into our world? And if there is, what is the source of that purpose? And can we contact the source of such purpose? Or is that source forever beyond our reach? Our Sedra is all about sacrifices and the ordination of the Kohanim, the priests. This, with the sacrifices, this is how you say thank you. This is how you say, I've sinned against you. This is how you say, please help me. And this is how you say, I'm ready now to do better. The sacrificial system is built as a way of answering those questions that have eternally troubled us. Are we alone? Sacrificial system. Emphatically, no. Is anybody in charge, despite the chaos that appears to be everywhere? Yes. Does any force in the world care at all about the choices that we make? Yes. And that force has chosen to make known to you what is expected of you. What if we fail to live up to the demands of that force? Because we are here for a purpose And because what we do either advances or frustrates that purpose, the universe will respond to our choices, says the sacrificial system, for better, for worse. There were three targets, three beneficiaries, if you will, of the sacrificial system within the Jewish world. One was God. One was the Kohanim Leviim, the priests and the Levites, and one was the people. There were ancient civilizations that believed that the gods needed food and drink, so sacrifices fed them. There were other civilizations that held that the gods constantly needed to be appeased, so the sacrifices appeased them. There were some civilizations that believed that the gods constantly needed formal signs of our obedience to their power, so the sacrifices declared daily such obedience. And there were some civilizations that believed that whenever we needed something from the gods, we had to pay for a godly response. Our Sedra edits, molds, radically redirects those patterns, but, my friends, nevertheless acknowledges them. We burnt incense. Why? Apparently, reach nichol, to please the divine sense of smell. We appeased, proved the steadfast of our loyalty, awakened our God to our most pressing needs. It's always been that way. And we also utilize the sacrificial system to maintain our priestly class. The priests owned no land. They harvested no crops. They depended upon the offerings of the people in order to maintain their lives and the lives of their household. And thirdly, we utilize the sacrificial system as a way of opening doors of contact between the infinite and the finite, between the Creator and the created, between the Savior and the delivered, between the source of meaning and the troubled and the confused. But time and events have ended the sacrificial system. But neither time nor events can ever remove the challenges that our system and all those systems were meant to address. Those challenges will be around so long as we human beings are around. The rabbis understood that truth. So they crafted synagogue life and formal patterns of worship that still served the same purposes as the sacrifices of old. Prayer acknowledges, like the sacrifices, that we are not alone, that we are loyal and grateful to God, that we rely upon God to be attentive to the greatest of our needs. And the synagogue system helps to maintain groups of people who are alive to the needs of the human spirit, who commit themselves to holding high the greatest values that we know, and to connect the generations in a vision of hope and love and forgiveness. We don't call those people the priests. We call those people our teachers, our rabbis, our cantors, our educators. But most of all, our synagogues, at their very best, open doorways of contact between the infinite and the finite, between the Creator and the created, between the source of salvation and a people seeking to climb higher and higher than they have ever climbed before. Even as the ancient pilgrimage festivals like Passover, this is Shabbat HaGadol, like Passover, which begins in just a week, created community by bringing pilgrims to Jerusalem, so do the best of our synagogues by bringing us together, create communities of meaning, communities of shared values that make possible the fulfillment of our noblest dreams. It isn't easy to read this week's Sedra, especially if we allow ourselves to get trapped in trying to understand the minutiae of the sacrificial system. But if we read Tzav, this week's Sedra, with a different set of eyes, with eyes that see beyond the literal toward the truths to which the literal is pointing, then we can begin to understand what it means to be human beings in a world that is both deeply frightening and profoundly uplifting. I wish you such eyes. I wish us such eyes. And I pray that our family gatherings for Passover will be filled with love and with memory, with ancient dreams and with modern commitments. Shabbat Shalom. That's it. Thank you. Please remember to keep the flames of the burning bush burning. And of course, please hit share. And then, well, once Shabbat is over, complete the preparations for the joyous celebrations that will soon be upon us. See you next week, and Chag Sameach.